now time to talk about making yourself the best possible person you can be. And trust me, with a couple of guys in the studio, it's not going to be that sort of a conversation, so don't worry too much. I'd like to welcome a very dear friend of mine, Matt Hale, to the studio. Welcome, Matt.
Oh, it's lovely. This is what we have to do to catch up now these days, is it?
It is. We message each other fairly regularly. Well, we've got to do a catch-up with the families and what do you... And because, and I blame you, because of Matt's life, which is absolutely awesome and I'm not jealous of at all, it honestly makes it a little hard, and I've got this dour existence at home with children.
I do move around a lot. That doesn't help. Yeah, that's okay. I'll give you that one.
But I wanted to get you in because you are a comedy hypnotist.
Yes.
And there's a whole other side of what you do as far as helping people become a better person of themselves. And it's not that sort of highfalutin stuff that you might see on a ladies' chat show late in an afternoon that we're talking about. It's just about... You know, you see, and I'm like this myself, you know, you're thinking, do I want to lose some weight? Do I want to quit smoking? Do I want to live a slightly better life than I'm doing right now? How can I do that? And that's sort of where you can help, can't you? Yeah,
well, look, actually, over the last 10 years, I mean, I've been doing this professionally, as a comedy hypnotist for the last 10 years, very unprofessionally, many years before that as well. So
yes, that's right. Yeah, and just before we get deep into it, I want to give you a little bit of history of Matt, okay? Because when I used to do a breakfast show at a different radio station, Matt was our executive producer there. You had some hair on your head.
I did, yeah. That's how long ago it was, yeah.
You had a bit of paunch on your belly.
That's how long ago it was.
That's how long ago it was. And then to be honest with you, we were close. We were very good friends. And for me, it was sort of out of the blue when Matt quit. And I said, well, what are you going to do, Matt? And he said, comedy hypnosis.
Yeah.
And when your mate tells you he's quitting his normal job, his career, to become a hypnotist, you kind of get, what? Are you all right?
Yeah, it kind of probably seemed a little bit out of the blue, I guess. And it was one of those things, I'd been fascinated in how the mind worked for years. But because I had this great career, we worked on many shows together. So we had so much fun. It was hard to kind of blow that career up. But at some point, I figured that, it just got the better of me. I've always got this fascination with, I never want that what if. Yeah. What if I had tried this? What if I couldn't stand the not knowing. So the only problem with that was I thought, well, the only way I can really do it is to kind of quit this radio job because it's going to be hard for me to put a show on the road. So if you want some advice from Matt, or you just want to ask a hypnotist a question you've always wanted to know, is it real, for starters? That's usually the big one. I hope so.
Yeah, 92211882. If you want to know how he does it, because you are an open book with what you do. I know you are.
I'll talk through the process for sure.
Absolutely. 92211882. I mean, I can sit here and ask these questions, and I will if you don't call, but it's a bit more fun when you call and do it, okay? So it's a call through. I find it fascinating that you're now helping people make their lives a little better and take a bit of a leap of faith in some ways. But you're not just full of it. You did it yourself as well. Yeah. Well, look,
what I started alluding to was that over the 10 years, I've kind of, made a bit of a change up of things. I've always wanted to make sure anyone who comes to any of my shows gets a real positive experience. Because, there's been shows in the past which, as funny as they may be, you've kind of looked at the people on stage and thought, geez, I'm glad it's not me. You're like, well, I can't believe I did that, And I always thought, well, wouldn't it be better if you put people on stage, gave them an amazing experience? It was so much fun, but not at all embarrassing, but it was still such big laughs, big happiness. And it would make the audience think, I wish it was me. They're going to come to another show, get up on stage. And so through that, I've always thought, if someone's also very good at suggestion, being able to take a suggestion on board, why wouldn't I give them something positive? So throughout the shows, I would always say, if we've done a routine which involved ridiculous amounts of laughter, after that routine, I would always say, you've just shown yourself that you have the ability to turn on happiness like a tap, because that is something that an actor with many years of experience couldn't replicate as natural as that on stage. So I started to kind of move towards, putting that kind of spin through things, and that then also bled into being asked to present at conferences, which now I do alongside the show. So now I do.
You did a TED Talk recently.
I did a TEDx talk recently in Perth, which actually should go out on the TEDx channel fairly soon. And that is actually about it's a way of thinking that I accidentally discovered. You know, as a hypnotist, I always got asked very similar questions in interviews. And one of those questions would be, yeah, how did you become a comedy hypnotist? It's a very fair question. It's an obvious one, right?
Well, it started with a trip to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's Hogwarts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But no, I would always say something like, "Oh no, I saw someone doing it, and I thought that looks like fun. I can probably do that." And then I realised that wasn't realistically the way most people think. In fact, most people would look at things and think, "God, that looks great. Wish I could do that." But it's almost there's like that. I probably can't though, because I mean, look at that. That would take.
Stand-up comedy is one of those.
Yeah.
Like, part of me would love to sit down and write something and do and give it a crack, but at the same time, I watch stand-up comedians and go, "No, you can have that."
Well, do you know what? I did some stand-up, right? Because I looked at people doing it and thought that thing can be done.
And how well did you
hang
go?
On? So hang on. So this is my way of thinking. Looking at things as I always do, and I can probably do that, right? Yeah. Turns out it's a little bit harder than it looks, isn't it?
Because that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that kind of went all right. It gave me the taste of the stage. I've always loved comedy, always loved the stage. But yeah, you know, I think though, along the way, being able to open yourself up to and think, do you know what, I can probably do that. But there's that little margin of error in there because, you know, you're going to fail at certain things. But being okay with that opens you up to much more opportunity because you're much more likely to try things.
So you mentioned earlier, like your driving force was you looked at how happy people are when they're at these hypnosis events, and that you're like, I want to do that. Like, I want to make other people happy. But in the process, clearly, like I've seen you and I know you well, and I can see it's made you better. It's made seemingly made your life so much better as well. So making other people happy has made you happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic because, of course, you know, I share these kind of amazing experiences on stage. I get caught up in the fun and laughter as much as the audience does, no matter how many times I do this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm also sharing techniques in my keynote talks, in conferences and corporate events. I'm sharing certain techniques in there, which I've implemented in my own life. So, you know, I'm sharing things that not just kind of, hey, try this, it should work. These are things that are tried and tested. And sometimes it just comes down to very simple mental techniques. But at school, we're not really taught those things. Yeah, 922-11882. I want to hear a few people on the phone. Give us a call if you want Matt to help you out. If you might be stuck in a rut with a couple of things. And look, I need to lose some weight. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I've needed to lose some weight for some time. And I've actually been threatening Matt that I've been going to be coming around and see you and help me out with it because, you know, it is one of those things. I find it holds me back. Yeah, with certain things, activities. Well, I say to people that realistically, across all the things in life that you want to change, it may be one thing, maybe reducing the amount of alcohol you drink, maybe having a better sleep, being more confident, losing weight, whatever it is. There is a similar kind of template I would run across anything. So it's almost like inserting issue X that you'd like to change, but the basics of that change in a nutshell for you right now is pretty much your mind loves patterns, right? So anything you learn, you do it consciously a few times, so you're aware you're doing it, right? So as you know, when you first drive a car, you got in a car.
It's a bit like muscle memory.
Exactly, right? Right. But at some point you do something so many times that the back of your mind kind of goes, all right, mate, I've got that. I'll run that pattern for you now. You don't have to think about driving now, which is why you can get in a car, get somewhere and think,
go,
oh, geez, how did I get here safely?
Yes, that happens regularly.
Yeah. So that thing happens with everything we kind of have learned along the way. So whatever our habits, our behavior is started as something we consciously did. We may have done it accidentally, or on purpose, but either way, do it a few times, the back of your mind kicks in and suddenly goes, oh, it's that pattern, is it? So you don't have to think about that now, I'll run that for you. So in the case of weight, pretty much what's happened is, for most people, you've learned to eat a certain way, whether at the time when you learned to eat that way it was appropriate or not, it doesn't matter. But at some point, the back of your mind went, oh, cool, that's the way you eat. You always grab that amount. You always have dessert. You always have this, which may have suited a certain time of your life. but maybe, you know, metabolism changes, you're not as,
you don't do as much exercise, yes.
But your intake is still the same because your mind kind of goes, yeah, you always eat that much.
It's quite interesting. I've got two personally, and 92211882. Share your patterns. I've got two. Okay, so I've got two patterns with me carrying extra weight. So one of them's a boredom eater, and I can tell exactly when that started. That started at about the age of 11.
Right.
When my parents built a house down in Busselton, and it was away from where all my mates lived.
Yeah.
I used to get the bus home, and I was on my own. I was bored. I became a boredom eater. And then the second pattern is I love the taste of food, and I just, when I'm onto something, you know, I'm like one of those sharks when they find a whale, you know, they just roll the eyes roll back.
I've seen you.
You've seen me. You got to stay out of the way. I keep going till it's done, till it's finished.
Yeah.
Rather than till I'm finished.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things is that you have to consciously a few times, you know, intervene in yourself.
Yeah.
Because what happens is most of our eating is absent-mindedly. You just, like, a lot of us, if you're watching TV, or you want to break from Netflix or whatever, you just kind of pause it or whatever, and you wander past the kitchen, you may just open that fridge door and kind of go, what do I want? Just absent-mindedly grab something in. But that's the wrong question. What do I want is not the right question. Yeah. The right question is, am I hungry?
Yes, you're right.
Because we tend to grab stuff without even asking that. Now, the thing is, if you start to make a point of actually asking yourself that, am I hungry? It forces yourself to actually address the situation at that point. And there are so many times that you're actually going to admit, actually, no, that I'm not hungry.
I'm probably thirsty.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
But you can actually also add more. The more you question yourself, the more it puts you on an edge of like, should I, shouldn't I? You can add extra questions. That question could be, initially, am I hungry? But is this going to help me look great for Christmas? Is this going to help me, you know, get to my weight goals? If you have to force yourself to answer those questions, you're getting closer to breaking that pattern. Yeah,
and then the important thing is, and I've been through it where I have broken that pattern before, and then it sneaks back in again. And tell me if you've probably heard this before, and if you're out there listening right now, some of you might agree. Have you ever found yourself just standing in front of an open fridge, just going, why, I don't even know why I've opened the fridge.
Yeah, what am I doing?
Honestly, I've done it before. Yeah. It's like, there's nothing in this fridge. Why am I at the fridge? It's 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't need anything. Well, I had lunch an hour ago.
Well, knowing the tricks your mind plays on you, it still doesn't stop you being a victim of those tricks. You know, I love a morning coffee, right? But you know, sometimes it's almost like you don't really want one because the weather's different or something's different. But that thing just kind of, you grab one anyway.
I got one on the way in for that exact. Just because it's
just you do.
I get one on the way in. I thought I might get tired at 2:00.
Yeah.
So I'll have one on my way in now. All right, stick with us. Matt Hale is in talking mind hacks. We're going to chat a bit more about hypnotism itself coming up next. And if you've got a question for Matt, it's not often you get to ask a hypnotist, especially one of his caliber. Trust me, he is at the top of the chain. 92211882. If you've got any questions for Matt, ask a hypnotist. That's what we're rolling with this afternoon. It's 2 on 882 6PR. Yes, good afternoon. It's 2, and I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Matt Hale, comedy hypnotist, award-winning radio producer, 3 times Fringe Festival top-selling.
Oh, yeah, we've sold a lot of shows.
Am I underselling? Am I giving you too many top sellers? Oh, you've had a couple, haven't you?
Oh, no, I've been nominated for awards there.
Let's just talk about that.
Last year.
How many? Have you ever been nominated for an award? 92211882. No. If you want to ask Matt any question about hypnotism that you've wanted to know, certain people with religious beliefs think can think it's a little bit evil, Matt. Did you know? Have you heard that?
Do you know what? I think like in the past that may have been the case. I think now.
Let's debunk that.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, even in the past 10 years that I've been doing this professionally, I've definitely seen a marked change because I think people no longer look at things like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, visualization, all these things, which are essentially what we roll into hypnosis just under a different context. These are all part of our just general lifestyle culture now, whereas these were more fringe kind of activities before. I say fringe at the festival, but just in general. So, you know, with that as just, we're more attuned to using our mind in different ways. And of course, you know, if you ever see one of my shows, there's no, this is a power I was born with. You know,
the eyes that hypnotise.
That's right, yeah. So it's always been a straight out demonstration of, okay, this is how we focus, use your imagination. If you've ever daydreamed, you've used that state of mind. If you've ever zoned out, you've used that state of mind.
You've hypnotised me before. We won't do it now because it's just the two of us and it's a bit weird.
Kind of weird, right?
It's kind of weird. So we won't do it now, but you've hypnotised me before. And I can say this, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yep.
But there's something odd about it that you're like, yeah, I know, but it's a bit like being in just a great mood. You know how days you're just in a fantastic mood and you're probably more willing to try things and do things?
Yeah.
Maybe when you're on holiday. I think people on holiday are more likely to try certain activities than they would do in their normal life. Like we just had a skydiver on earlier.
Yeah.
You're a much better chance at jumping out of a plane skydiving on your holidays because you've got a certain mentality around you than you would be in your normal day in life.
Yeah. It's a big. It would stand out as a big kind of like weird thing to do. But when you're hypnotized, the only thing we're really doing is focusing your attention. And initially people may come to a show and think, but Matt, how could people really believe to a certain point that something's really happening at that moment? Believe with such conviction. And it's very easy.
Yeah.
This is the way we all do this. If you've ever cried at a sad movie, guess what? The dog didn't really die. It's a story someone's written. It's all actors saying words and pretending to do it. It's not real.
That's right. You've been hypnotised.
But it's made you cry,
That's right.
So our brain has that ability to make things feel real in the moment. So essentially, that's the same kind of thing, but doing that on purpose on stage.
So see, for me, when you talk about the movie analogy, I deliberately avoid heavy movies like that. I don't go to the movies to come out of it feeling flat. Yeah. I want to go to the movies and come out and go, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's why I go to the movies. So that's why when I speak to people about what movies I go and watch, I like your blockbusters. I like the action movies. It's not that I don't like something a little more intellectual, but I'd probably watch that on a DVD at home.
Yeah, well, I'm quite emotional. So, like, if you put me in front of a sad, powerful movie, there's going to be tears.
But do you avoid that? Like, because if it's a Friday night, I've had a hard day, I've had a hard week at work. That's a lie. But I've had a hard week at work. Let's just pretend. I don't want to feel dour. I don't want to get out at 9:30 and go, oh, God, okay, that wasn't escape from my life at all.
I'll tell you when I did start avoiding it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I fly a lot for my work. I perform at conference events all over the country, right? Internationally as well. But so I'm on planes a lot. I do watch a lot of movies on planes. And I thought, let's watch something nice and light a few years ago.
Yeah.
Put the Muppet movie on, that remake a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's me kind of tearing up.
Really?
In the song, Are You a Man or a Muppet? And I was like, I don't know, am I a man or a Muppet?
I believe we've been called both in our career in radio. I'll tell you what, we've known a few Muppets in radio, haven't
Absolutely.
we? We certainly have. Yeah. We've got a phone call. John has called from Secret Harbour. You've got a question about hypnosis, John?
Yeah, g'day, Fitzy. G'day, Matt.
Hey, John.
I've been trying to give up the durries for quite some time,
Yes.
a few years. A fairly heavy smoker. I've been to a hypnotist probably 5 years ago and then one last year, and each time I went to 2 sessions or 3 sessions each.
Right.
But nothing seemed to work. Are there people that don't get hypnotised? I mean,
Absolutely, and it depends on the framework that people are using. I mean, there's lots of different certain techniques. Essentially, I mean, I actually work quite a lot in the quit smoking arena. I do a lot of work with a lot of the big mining companies, fly up and see 50 guys at a time, that kind of thing. But you don't necessarily have to be hypnotized at all. In fact, obviously, if I do a group of people, I can't rely on hypnosis simply because, there is that fact that some people are good subjects, some people are not. So it depends on the framework that's being put around it. But certainly, there's a few things that help the psychology of why and how you're smoking and how it became that pattern, how to break that pattern. And then, of course, moving on, just seeing things in a certain different light. So there are ways of using visualization and certain little mental techniques to be able to do that. So, there's people who will go to one hypnotist and go, amazing. And there's someone else who may go, yeah, it didn't work for me. So for some people, they just find it's relaxing. For some people, it's super, psychological. It really depends on the approach and the person, I guess.
All right, John. So I think the idea is maybe give it another go, buddy. Like Matt said, different people have different techniques. You need to find something that works for you. I guess it's like seeing doctors in some way. You know what I mean? Some doctors work for you, some don't.
Yeah, but I'd say, are you still there, John?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
Yeah. So what happened? Like, so I don't need to go through everything, but did you quit smoking at all for any time period after you'd seen any of those people?
I did for the latest one last year. I stopped for about 3 or 4 days. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, in a sense, those first 3 or 4 days, you have that ability to do that. It's just getting your mind used to ongoing with that, and also kind of knocking out those last little strange patterns of why you were picking up those cigarettes and keeping going.
Can I ask a question, John, as well? Because my father and my older brother have smoked their whole lives as well, and for them, it's a trigger. To be honest with you, especially my brother, it tended to be Friday with a beer. That was his trigger, and he could quit all week. But then as soon as he hit Friday and that trigger hit, do you get those triggers yourself?
Not really, Fitzy. I think it's just something I'm addicted to it. I started about 14 and I'm 61 now, and I actually really do want to stop. So I don't go to the hypnosis and I'll just pretending. I actually do want to stop. So it's, but as I say, I've tried 2 people and 2 or 3 times each, and it just hasn't happened. So
yeah, well, John,
I did stop for that 4 days. Yeah,
John, get in touch with me after this show, and I'm going to send you through a few little bits and pieces which may help. So yeah, just get in touch with me after the show, and I'll send you some bits and pieces for that.
How can I get in touch with you, Matt?
Just hold the line, John. We'll put you back on hold, and I'll get your phone number. Ben will get your phone number,
Nice.
and Matt can reach out and send you some stuff.
Easy.
Okay, buddy.
Be fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Good on you, John. And Matt is the best at it too. So I think he'll be able to help you out. There you go. I've just promised you stuff.
It's basically just there's some very simple things that I share with the people just in general, which seem to help. Some very simple
Smoking's
things.
a tough one though, isn't it? It really is. Like I said, my father and my brother have tried that many things. They've technically quit now, but believe it or not, it was actually the vapes. Vaping actually is what helped them quit. Particularly my father. Turns out it was just a habit thing. He will probably pick up the vape once or twice a day.
Right, yeah.
One puff, done. That's it. It's been absolutely remarkable for him.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, if you believe it's going to be hard to quit, it will be. If you believe you're going to put weight on when you quit, you will. If you believe you're going to get irritated when you quit, you will. That they're beliefs. They're not side effects that naturally happen. You can look at what the side effects actually scientifically are of quitting, and those things aren't things that the expectancy in your mind of what will happen. Your mind will tend to work towards that, which is.
It's funny.
A little bit of a trick.
I've had a few goes at losing weight before, and over the years I've been quite successful at times, and it tends to be public humiliation when that works for me. As in on the radio, I'll have like a weight loss challenge. Like, well, I can't fail this. I've got to do this, right? And maybe that's not always been the best reason to do it.
But the great thing is, though, you can see under certain conditions it's actually possible.
Absolutely,
so
it's possible.
Once you know it's possible, because there's some people who think there's absolutely no way I could quit. There's absolutely no way I could lose weight. There's absolutely no way I could, not be scared of spiders. But once you have a point where you can say, well, you can because of this situation. You can because you did here. You can because for 20 years you weren't this.
What's the most unusual thing someone's come to you that they need help with, Matt? You don't. Do you have patient confidentiality?
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of. But there's some things which some people are happy for me to share and have put them out amongst different people. So, but the interesting things are probably phobias, because people are scared of all sorts of weird things, but. If someone comes to me and says, I don't know, they're scared of red buttons, right? Yeah, that would be bizarre, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's ridiculous.
But guess what? That same person, if they came to me and said, look, I'm just really scared of red buttons. I've got no idea why it is. Every time I see one, I break out in a sweat, whatever it is. I just don't want to be near them. I tell them, do you know what? There are people out there who are scared of flying. They're like, no way, how ridiculous is that? So, again, it's just weird kind of mental things have happened along the way, and the mind has been a bit overactive and then kind of blanketed this certain response, and it's become this, conditioned response each time you see that thing. Yeah.
That being said, I've never watched Foxtel and seen Red Button investigation. I've seen Aircraft investigation. Okay, there's reasons for that fear. Vicky's on the line. We've got another question for Matt, our hypnotist. Go away. Not go away. Go ahead, Vicky.
Here I am.
We might tell you to go away later.
Okay, that's fine. I went, same as that last chap that rang about smoking. I went to a hypnotherapist, and she hypnotised me and sent me home with a CD to play every night when I went to bed. And the idea that she'd put in my head was every time you light a cigarette, you'll feel sick. Well, that worked.
Right.
It certainly worked, but it didn't stop me from smoking because the cravings were still there. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And I rang her in a pretty bad way, and I said, every time I light a cigarette, I feel so sick. And she said, Vicky, you're not supposed to be smoking. And I laughed. But the thing is, it didn't take away the body's need for that gimme, even though it made me feel so revoltingly sick.
Yeah. Now this is why I don't. You know, people have different preferences. I don't really like to do that kind of aversion style therapy because, yeah, you know what it's like. You've got kids who bite their nails and you can get the stuff, you paint on their nails, and eventually they'll still start chewing through and licking that horrible tasting stuff. So it doesn't take the actual habit away. So what you're doing now there with the, you know, that aversion making you feel sick is not really actually adjusting why you're smoking and getting rid of the actual habit. All it's doing is just making it harder. And again, you know, that habit is so ingrained that you're just still pushing through it.
I'll tell you what, Vicky, we're going to have to leave it there, but they say that smokers don't have willpower. You smoked through that sick feeling. That's willpower, if you ask me. It makes me feel like I'm going to vomit, but I'm going to push through it anyway. Matt Hale, comedy hypnotist, general legend, and TEDx expert.
Watch
you
out.
For coming in. How can people get in touch with you, buddy, and see what you're up to?
If you're on Facebook, just search Matt Hale Hypnotist. And in fact, anyone who is on Facebook, hit my Facebook page. There's a post at the top, a big blue kind of cartoon face of mine. Put the word happy underneath that, and I'll send you a free book with some little techniques in it.
Oh, good on you, mate.
Yeah.
And you still got the private number plate hypnotist?
I do, yeah.
Thought I'd mention that. So if you see
not
that,
so private now, is it?
No. If you see that, well, you're the one who bought it, so you made your bed. Look, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in. We're going to be coming back shortly on Let's Play in WA with Frank Prokop, talking fishing this weekend. It is 24-3.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel, and also check out some of the other videos I have up here. And also, if you've got any questions, always feel free to contact me.